Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 1 Kim Owen. We warmly welcome the family of Private Arthur George Francis Lillis, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the ceremony broadcast across Australia. We also welcome members of the Nambucca Valley RSL sub-branch who are in attendance this evening. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Arthur George Francis Lillis. Arthur was born in Morwell, Victoria on the 13th of October 1901, the third oldest of 12 children born to John and Hannah Lillis. After his birth, the family moved to Canberra, another town in the Gippsland region. Known to his family as Artie, he attended the Canberra School in Victoria. When Artie was 14, his older brother John enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force to fight in the First World War. John left Australia in September 1916 to fight on the Western Front with the 37th Battalion. He never returned home. He was killed in action at Mazine on the 8th of June 1917, aged 19. After finishing school, Artie left Gippsland for Western Victoria. In 1926, he married Catherine Ruth Duffy at St Mary's Roman Catholic Church in Ararat. The couple moved to Melbourne shortly after their marriage, and Arthur found work as a fireman with the local railways. The couple went on to have 5 children: Arthur, Teresa, John, Raymond, and Keith. Arthur's wife, Catherine, died on the 18th of August 1938. She was pregnant at the time and died from complications after being injured while attempting to move a wardrobe that fell on her. Catherine's death left Arthur a widower, responsible for caring for his 5 young children. Sometime after Catherine's death, Arthur and his children moved in with the Peyton family in North Melbourne. Arthur enlisted at Melbourne Town Hall on the 8th of June 1940. He was assigned to the 2nd Pioneer Battalion and left for Puckapunyal to commence training. While there, he was admitted to hospital in July, suffering from deafness in his left ear. After being discharged, he joined a training battalion in September. Just over a month later, he returned to his unit. Private Arthur Lillis left Australia on the 8th of April 1941, sailing via the Suez Canal to Palestine. The 2nd Pioneer Battalion arrived in Palestine in early May and encamped at Hill 95, one of several large Australian camps skirting the main Gaza-Jerusalem highway. The men camped in airy tents rather than huts, with sandbagging and narrow trenches for protection from bomb blasts. An elaborate air raid warning system was set up and nighttime blackouts were strictly enforced. The battalion remained at Hill 95 for the remainder of May, undertaking daily routine marches, drills and camp exercises. On the 31st of May, the decision was made to mount an offensive operation in Syria and Lebanon against Vichy France. The 2nd Pioneer Battalion left Hill 95 camp in early June, crossing the border into Lebanon about a week later. Over the next 2 weeks, the battalion was involved in fighting around the fort of Mézhoun, which had fallen into Vichy French hands. The first action involving the 2nd Pioneer Battalion occurred on the 17th of June, one of several Allied attempts made that day to recapture the fort. 2 companies of the battalion with artillery support were to make a frontal assault on the fort. The attack ultimately ended in failure and high casualties. The battalion remained in the region, and on the 24th of June, a patrol found the fort empty. The Vichy French had withdrawn to the high ground northeast of Mézhoun, where they were able to control the routes around the fort while remaining out of Allied artillery range. Following the French withdrawal, the 2nd Pioneer Battalion was ordered to attack Balat Ridge, high ground to the north of the fort. The attack began before dawn, with the battalion immediately coming under heavy small arms fire. By 8 a.m, the battalion was forced to withdraw. The attack cost 47 casualties. including 21 killed. Among the dead was Private Arthur Lillis, who had been killed in action. He was 39 years old. Lillis was initially buried near where he fell. Comrades marked his grave with a cairn of stones and a helmet. His remains were later exhumed and reburied at Damascus British War Cemetery. Arthur Lillis' death left his 5 children orphaned, with Keith, the youngest, 5 years old. On the 27th of June 1942, on the 1-year anniversary of their father's death, Arthur, Teresa, John, Ray and Keith published a poem in the family notices section of The Age, just below the memorial entry from Artie's parents and siblings. The poem read, "A wonderful daddy only lent, one of the best God ever sent. To be with us in the same old way would be our dearest wish today." Arthur Lillis' name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Arthur George Francis Lillis, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
If you're able, please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub of Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.